Good morning, children. This morning session is dedicated to class 9, and we are going to have a small discussion on the poem The Lake Isle of Innisfree by William Butler Yeats. Class 9, the poem number 5, titled The Lake Isle of Innisfree by William Butler Yeats. The Lake Isle of Innisfree is based on three important elements, three ideas: home, isolation, man, and natural world. What are the three ideas the poem Lake Isle of Innisfree based on? First one is man, then isolation, and home, isolation, and man and natural world. The poet actually desires to search solitude from his hectic and busy, noisy city life, and therefore he just wants to live a more rustic life. He is unable to reconcile with his present situation. He seems to get fed up with the noisy city life, and therefore it seems that in his heart's core he craves for a peaceful, natural, rustic setting. Isolation can be very lonely, but not in the Lake Isle of Innisfree. The poet seems to be really craving for some solitude from his noisy life, congested city life, and therefore he reminiscences of his childhood days spent in is his maternal home. There is always conflict between man and natural world, but however, the poet seems to take this conflict away and love the natural greenery, the birds, the insects, and the lapping of waves just on the island shore. This present poem is a lyric, which is the genre of poetry in which the poet is expressing emotions briefly and in stanzas recognized form. The poet wants to escape from the urban life for a more rustic settlement in the Lake Isle of Innisfree. He reminisces his childhood days spent his maternal home. He expresses his desire to build a cottage and stay in it, and also plant 9 bean rows in his garden. He also wants to have a beehive for the bees in the Isle of Innisfree. He welcomes the chirping of the crickets, the birds, after the mist is unveiled in the morning. The poet, wants to have the solitude of life. The glade where he builds his cottage is constantly buzzing with bees, moving to and fro with the clear, natural setting. The clear night is enlivened by the twinkling of millions of stars. The island is ever alive because nature is against the sound of the traffic of the city where he is presently dwelling. He recalls each part of the day with his fondness that he has spent in those days. He says that he can hear every sound of the past echo in the core of his heart. So, in the present poem, the poet deliberately wants to stay in solitude, far away from the cries, hue and cries of the city life. He is completely fed up with the hue and cry of city life, and therefore he wants to live in the solitude of nature. He believes that he can build a small cottage in the island of Innisfree, where he can have 9 bees rows in his garden. He can also have bees which will keep buzzing and making echo in the entire air. He wants to have the sight of beautiful sight of the lapping of waves on the shore of the island. He also wants to, enjoy the peace of nature. He wants to live in coexistence with nature. The sight is worth to behold. The linnets fly in the multitude in the evening sky. The sight of the clear night, enlivened by the twinkling of millions of stars, attracts him. See, the lapping of the waves on the island shore all day is magical. The poet equates peace to nature against the sound of the cry of the city. He says that each part of the day that he has spent with fondness in the lake isle of Innisfree is worth remembering. And that is the reason why, in the core of his heart, he has a love to live in the more rustic settlement in the lake isle of Innisfree. So the poem highlights three important ideas. One is home, the second one is isolation, and third one is man and natural world. In the entire poem, the focus of the poet is to be in the peaceful settlement in the lap of nature, where he can enjoy solitude, completely peace. He says that isolation can be very lonely, but never in the lake isle of Innisfree. The poet seems to be really craving for some solitude from his hectic city life, and that is the reason why he loves to live in the natural greenery full of birds, insects, and the lapping of the waves on the island shore. Thus, this beautiful lyric is a beautiful, you know, representation of the genre of poetry in which the poet is expressing emotions briefly in the stanzas recognized form. And that's what I wanted to emphasize upon. Thank you, children. I'm sure when you will read the poem, you'll enjoy this beautiful poem, The Lake